I just want to take a minute to sincerely thank you for taking the time to listen to these episodes and these podcasts over the last almost year and a half that they've been going on. I'm at a total of 72 episodes. We've reached close to 500 cities, 35 countries. We're in every continent except Antarctica, and we're closing in on 10,000 total downloads across all services. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Over the next year, I'm looking to create more of a thematic unit approach where we cover certain themes over a 3 or 4 episode period. The easiest way to support the show, if this is something you're enjoying and finding value in, is just to click that subscribe button. And if you enjoy this episode or any others, please consider forwarding it on to a friend. Thank you and enjoy the show. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Health Movement Podcast. I have a special guest returning to the show. I'm super excited to have her. Before I introduce her, thank you for joining. My name is Derek. I'm a certified personal trainer, teacher of over 20 years, and we are not doctors. So before you go changing any programming or anything like that, please consult with your physician. Also, if you're watching this over on YouTube, like, follow, subscribe. If you like what you see, hop over to my guest's page. I'll introduce her in a second. Give her a follow, interact. She's incredible and very responsive to any questions or anything you have. So without further ado, Katie Van Doren is back on the show. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Derek. I'm excited to be here again.
Yes, no, I wanted you back on, and you know, you had a bunch of stuff that you were training for, and obviously didn't go as planned, but I feel like there was a lot of learning and growth regardless along the way. And I've been seeing what you're doing and following you closely. And, you know, and I'm happy to say we've developed a friendship since you coming on the show. So it's really cool to kind of get you back on here after we've had numerous interactions since then. So thank you. Yes.
Sure. Thank you.
But can we jump into the training itself, and maybe give people a little background? I know, unfortunately, it didn't kind of turn out the way, you know, it didn't happen the way we were hoping for, but you worked your backside off doing that. The dedication and the consistency was huge. Can you just maybe give us a little recap of what you were doing and kind of what your day-to-day looked like?
Sure. So this Half Ironman was a comeback race. It was a race that I have never done this distance in 15 years. I had 4 kids in between, and I wanted to just see if I can complete it again. There wasn't necessarily a time until I got closer to that end, but I wanted to try and finish. And so I really am built like when I have a program, I feel best in a program. And this was a 20-week program. It started back in April, and it was six days on, 1 off day, 2 brick workouts a week, which is it's a bike and then a run workout. So 2 of those a week. And I kept up with that for the 20 weeks. When I'm on the program, it feels almost like being young and in high school when you have to, or college, when you have to be organized. I have, my training, and then I have my children, and I have my 2 jobs. And in college or high school, you have your schoolwork. That's why they call it a student athlete. You're a student first, and then you're the athlete, right? And so it has organization to it. And I feel most comfortable when I'm on a program. I'm so organized. It reminds me of just being younger. And I think that's my personal favorite part. And when I'm not on a program, like right now, I'm a little more flighty, I guess. I feel a little bit more like, I don't know what to do today. I mean, I know I can do one of 3 or 4 sports, but I really don't have a why as much as where I'm going with this.
When you have that plan, you have the direction, and it's, it's set up. This is what I'm doing. This is the end goal. Yes. But I get it, having that time period where you're like, all right, I know what I need to do. I know, you exercise to be healthy and to clear your mind, and because it's enjoyable. There are many reasons, but when I get messages from you where you'd leave a voice message on the bike at whatever hour in the morning, and I could tell you were pushing it because you certainly weren't going to text during that time. But it was,
It's funny. That's right,
yeah,
and that's part of being locked in on the program, like, if it was 5 in the morning or there were some times where I had to do after the kids would go to bed, then I would do it at night. There wasn't an option for not doing it, right? That there was no option. As soon as I allow myself to have options, I'm out. And so at the program, it's just unless I was hurt, I'm on the program, and that there's no options with it.
yeah. No, I like it. You schedule something like it's part of your job. It's a responsibility that you're committed to, and
Mhm.
you know what you can accomplish if you stick to that plan and you go through it.
And
Um,
that's because of history. So in history, when I had marathons or triathlons and they were successful, I have a pattern of if I do the program, I will cross the finish line. And so if you have a history of it, you have more confidence in the programming itself that then you will cross the finish line. It hasn't always worked out that way. There were
yes.
multiple finish lines I didn't cross back in my 20s for a couple different reasons. Two marathons, I did not cross the finish line. But when I've had enough races where programming for it significantly shows that I will cross the finish line. Higher chance.
Yeah, you can't plan for everything, but you can
Correct.
give yourself the best chance to do it.
Correct.
Um,
Correct.
so you unfortunately couldn't, you didn't compete in the half Ironman, and my
Right.
condolences for your father. That was
Thank
I
you.
could see, and obviously a devastating time.
Yeah.
Seeing the connection you had with him and the person he was, and
Mhm.
kind of the drive that he showed racing, and until the end, like, I
Correct.
can see where your drive comes from in your, like you said, sticking to a plan and doing it. It seems like that's a trait that was definitely passed on to you from him.
Yes. He got into running after I started running in college. I ran for Seton Hall. And then he started to get in the back of the pack of New York Roadrunners Club. And he was a couch to marathon guy and
That's
ran
awesome.
350 races from 58 years old until 71, 72 years old.
Wait, can
Um,
you say those numbers one more time a little more slowly? Because that's
sure,
impressive.
sure. So my dad ran 350 races from 58 years old until 71 years old. And in that time, he ran 5 marathons, 27 half marathons, a load of 5Ks and 10Ks, and one sprint triathlon. But he was a couch to marathon guy. I remember him eating a whole half a gallon of Breyer's ice cream on the couch when I was 17 years old. And by 20 years old, he was getting in the back of the pack of the New York Roadrunners Club and seeing if he would like running because he didn't never did it before. He was a
Yeah.
baseball player, but he never got into running until 58 years old. So
And 350 races in
yeah, he has all the
13
bibs.
years.
Yes, I
That's
know.
it's astonishing, that number. Even, like, if you did, 10 races or 20 races over a 13, like, that's impressive in itself. That's quite a few races a year.
Yes,
Um,
he was the running man. We called him Papa Runner. The grandkids call him Pop.
yeah,
And he would run every weekend. He would run a 5K if there wasn't like a bigger race to run. And then he just collected all these bibs and bib after bib after bib. And it was really his outlet, you
yeah.
know. He was single at that point and he chose running as his outlet and that was it. It just didn't it was so exciting to him. It was so fun.
And I'm
Um,
sure you meet, and I've talked about this in other shows, but in that environment, in that community, you meet like-minded people who have a similar drive and, appreciate similar things in life. So you kind of you make a lot of new friends and develop new relationships. So there's that side of it too, which I think gets passed over. That social piece is super important.
you're right. And I learned this current training program that I was on that it does get lonely if you're not in that connection. So I live a little far out west from Austin and kind of where all the action is with clubs for triathlon.
Yeah.
And I was feeling it around, well, I would say like 14 or 15, right up into the peak training. I was like, it would be nice to have a running buddy or a coach or a club, someone to be talking to
Yeah.
about my training. And, I could openly talk about it, but you also don't want to make that the center of attention,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know,
You don't
no one,
pe people get tired of that. That's like if
of
I were to
course.
tell you about my fantasy football team, I think your eyes would gloss over pretty quickly.
I
But
listen in, but awareness of, hey, everyone's not doing triathlon, Katie. And so we touch
yes.
on it, but it's not the same as if that connection of back and forth with a club or running friends of meeting people. So
There was a woman that was on not too long ago, Bruna Romero from she's from Qatar actually train and she was training for half Ironmans and Ironmans, but she had a club and she'd post things and it's 30 people on bikes every morning and they're running together, swimming. So I can imagine that would get tough by the end where you're kind of plowing through that on your own, which almost is even more impressive that you could continue with the training at the level you were doing.
yes, there's Zwift. I have Zwift, so it's like a a a bike program that I have in front of me on my computer, and then I'm connected through my kicker, my core kicker in the back, so it does its own resistance, and then you see everybody that you're racing with, but it's very digital. It's not, you don't see anyone's real face. You just
Yeah.
see bikers going by, so it's not that kind of connection as far as like you see the people working. Um, and at that point, though, I'm getting so close to the race. This is not a good time to back out. This is
Yeah,
the
no, you
time to
can't at that point in time. I did
yeah.
from how, as much as I've gotten to know you, the last thing you're going to show your kids is I'm not going to put the work and effort in.
Yeah, no, and they were part of it too, like, they were part of watching the Zwift or bringing me a towel or, "Can you get me another gel? I need more water. I need more salt. I need," and they're really great, so, but yes, when I'm on my bike, they would definitely help out, and they actually get on their watches how my workout's doing, so
Oh,
they see
that's nice.
mine, I can see theirs, yes.
That
So
is a
we
nice little
we could, like, cheer each other on, in our workouts.
that's pretty cool. That's and then so you kind of had a health scare too with your running. Do you mind
Yeah.
diving into that a little bit?
Yes, and I'm so grateful for my health scare because I would have never known that I would have been like so depleted in electrolytes unless I had that scare. And that kind of brings me back to my dad. When my dad was running in his 60s, he came through the New York City half marathon holding his heart. And I was like, "Dad, are you okay?" And he's like, "No, something's wrong." He finished the race and he needed 4 stents put in because he had artery
Wow.
blockages. But the point of it is actually you don't know your injuries or you don't know necessarily where your health is at a weakness unless you're putting yourself through physical fitness.
Yes.
My dad could have been having the same artery issue, but if he wasn't raising his heart rate, he might have not known that he was having some heart issues,
Yeah.
right? And if I would have never put myself maybe through maybe such rigorous training and I'm unable to keep up with the electrolyte side, maybe by the time the race would have been here, it would have been very difficult for me to understand even my electrolytes and what's high, what's low, what's needed, too little, too much. So the cramping issue that I had in my legs, I could smile about it now, and it was not funny. It was very
No.
painful.
Yeah.
Um, it was really painful and, medical emergency, the whole 911 and everything, but, um, if I didn't know about it, then I wouldn't have been taking steps to get blood work done, getting a new bike fit, um, going to the store and getting electrolytes, like things that I need to be doing for future races now are done now because of signaling of what happened from the cramping.
So taking something that I imagine was tough, like physically to deal with, but emotionally being like, oh no, like what's happening now? Like, what do I have to deal with this? Learning from that. So when you're going forward, you're not stopping. I imagine you're not going to put your feet up on the couch and have a half a thing of Breyer's ice cream like that. That doesn't strike me
No.
as your next step. But now you know going forward and you can adjust and you can plan and you can,
Right.
come up with a new plan that's going to work.
Yes, and I think being proactive about it was very important because I tried to run a half marathon 2 weeks later and I only made it to 12.7 miles and was down on the floor again. So again, as an endurance athlete, I can't be on the low end for electrolytes. I need to be above the low. I need to be middle to high, right?
Yeah.
And figure out where that comfortableness is. So I think when your body is signaling you, and as we get older, we get different signals, and these new signals might mean new things. It doesn't mean you get another 5 miles in you like you did at 20 years old. You get
Yeah.
a half a mile,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
now
Right
it's
there.
it's different. Like you get less time. If your body's talking to you, you need to figure it out pretty quickly. And this is just my case, but back 20 years ago, I was like, I could run 5 miles on cramps. Well, why can't I do that anymore?
Yeah.
And it's because I'm 41. I
Yeah.
can't do that anymore.
Happy
So
birthday, by the way.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Um, so is that your biggest takeaway from dealing with the frustration of not being able to compete the way you're hoping to?
The cramping part or
Well,
my
just
dad or
in
both?
general, like understanding that I've got to adjust, I've got to be able to change my approach based on what I'm experiencing.
Yes. And it has to do with proactivity. Like you have to be proactive in order to adjust for that next race. What happened between my medical, medical emergency and my half marathon? Nothing. I didn't change anything.
Yeah.
I added maybe coconut water into my diet and some stretching. But that by no means is what I've done in the past week, which was get my blood work done, see all my blood work numbers, go get a new bike fit to make sure like and my bike fit was actually wrong. I had to go down a little bit more, but make sure I'm technically lined up properly. So I'm not compensating with my ankles and my calf muscles through biking before I hit the road,
Yeah.
things like that. And then I jumped to the health store and got 4 different supplements. So I feel great. I had the past 3 days have been amazing. I did a really amazing swim the other day. I had a great run, 6 mile run. And so I feel like I'm back at it, but I will only be tested sure once I get up to peak training for a future race.
And do you have in mind what you want that future race to be? Or are you going to ease your way back into it and do what we do as we get older and try and be a little more patient?
Um, well, because of the way intuitively for myself, when I'm not on a program, I'm like itching. I'm like the horse that's like ready to go, right?
Yes.
And so because of that, intuitively, it's harder not to be on a program. And so I'm looking at 2 races and the second one came up as of today because um I got automatic entry into the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon.
What?
Yeah, in 2026. So I received that news today. But
Congrats. That's incredible.
thanks. Yeah, that's just like I put my name in a month ago and then I got like word today that I'm in. So I did that race twice. I did it in 2010 and 2011.
So what
And
I can imagine what it is, but what exactly like what's that race like? How much of it is in Alcatraz? I'm sure it's in the waters around it.
yep,
But what's that race look like? That sounds incredibly cool.
it was very cool. It's very hard. It's somewhere in between an Olympic triathlon and a half Ironman. It's like a mix of distances. It's not an Olympic, it's not a half Ironman. They have made it their own.
Yeah.
And it's special because you all the athletes start out on a boat and you take the boat out almost to Alcatraz, the island.
Yeah.
And the start is you jump off of the boat
That's
and you
awesome.
swim out mile and a half back to shore. I don't know if you know anything about it. The water's super cold, shark infested
Yeah.
water, seals. It's the waves are not kind. So it's that's a hard one. That's a tough one to.
And it's a hilly area, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's still the same from 2011, I don't know. It would probably may have changed, but it's a 18-mile bike, and then it was an 8 mile run. So, but the hills are,
Oh, it's San
San
Francisco.
Francisco.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
hills are famous or infamous depending on what you're doing there. Oh, that's awesome. So
they're yeah.
so you're in for that? What's the date on that one?
I'm in for that one. That one's June. June. I want to say around the 10th, June 10th. Um, but the full Texas Ironman is April 18th.
Oh boy.
I know, and that would be my first. So, I had to do some logistics about, my daughter's birthday is right around there. I had to check with the teachers today because the STAR test is the day before, but I would want my kids to come with me. So I was doing some logistical things to make sure that if they were coming with me, like all would be well. And having conversations with my kids about me doing races is really important because when I have them on my time, it's really important for me to know mom's not being selfish with her racing and unable to take care of us because she's tired, her time's taken up by us like that.
Yeah.
That's really important to me. So, I have conversations with them and then all the logistics are checked off and then I'd likely sign up for that. And I'd start training for that December 1st.
Okay. So you've got another month or so to kind of ramp it back up a little bit to see how everything's going.
Yeah, the cramps don't scare me.
No? That's
Nope.
good. You're all
They're
checked
just
out?
like I find they're just signals. If it comes up again, then I'm gonna know. And I think what I'm gonna find out is how much of my body can take on such of a training schedule, with electrolyte support now built in. Do I need more? Is my body even capable of handling electrolyte support and this now? Because that's not what I had before,
Mm.
and I was doing fine. I got up to 5-hour workouts, but now it's going to be different because I'm going to stay on this support. I know my blood work came back normal. So there's only one way to find out. And you
Uh,
got to go through it in order to find out, like
yeah.
intuitively, if I don't do it, it will bother me every day. Like I'll just keep
Yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I I have to like put myself out there. And that kind of full circles, I guess, comes back to like, if I fail, I'm failing because of like health reasons. It has nothing to do with my discipline. It has nothing to do with my efforts. I know that I'm willing to put myself into this kind of training mode and kind of be a leader for moms who were athletes before they had kids and be like, she had 4 kids. She can go finish an Ironman,
Yeah.
Like I think that that would be a cool inspiration for women that have been athletes before and want to be athletes after
100%.
they've had
And
moms.
that term failure, I think is such a negative connotation. And you don't learn anything if you're not failing, and the only way you find out is if you're willing to do something you could possibly fail at. And in this regard, I wouldn't even consider it a failure if health wise you can't do it. You
Right.
didn't. It wasn't a failure.
Right.
It's not like you just that just isn't. You know
Right.
the health gets in the way of that.
Right.
Um, but I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed for you because I think I don't know. It's exciting to watch. You were very good about posting what you were doing each day or frequently, so people could kind of follow along with you with the journey. And it got me off my butt some days when I didn't want to. I'm like, all right, Van Doren's doing it. I gotta get up and I
Yes,
gotta do it too.
I
You
love
know
that. That's the
that's
whole
why.
point.
Yeah, it definitely a
Hon
buddy of
honestly
mine.
honestly, it's
Sorry,
the
go
whole
ahead.
point. Yeah, I just feel like community is important, and I know we're on Instagram, I know we're on social media. I get motivated too. Do you know who I'm watching? I'm watching 50-year-old women have six-pack of abs. I'm like, "How does she have that after 2 kids?" And
Yeah,
she's inspires me, And I'm watching I'm watching the 80-year-old grandma from New Jersey
yeah,
complete the Ironman of Kona at 80 years old. Like, I'm trying. There's no way, like,
you'll be
I
there.
can just sit back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
No, you'll be
if
there,
I'm
and
peaceful.
you introduced me to Darlene. She just rode her bike across the country like that.
Amazing.
I wanted to ride from, like, Maine to Massachusetts, and, like, I can't do that anymore. That sounds so whippy. Yeah, like, what am I even trying that for? But you're right. It's the community that is built, and it's not like I'm better than you or I can do this and you can't. It's like, let's try this stuff to find something that is a challenge for you and do it. Like, go for it, try, put yourself out there and see what happens. And if you need a cheerleader, there are thousands of them out there that are trying the same sort of thing and they'll support you the whole way. It does make a huge difference having that.
It does. And I think if there's comparing, I'm sending the wrong message. Like, that's not the point, right?
Yeah.
So my training program works for me. The point is to find what works for you. It's not to also do a half Ironman. It's not also to do an Ironman, right? Um, I like to think that sports brings people like peace, because like the endorphins, people get excited, they get happy after they're done working out, and
Yeah.
there's some peace that comes with it, away from depression, away from anxiety. Like that's that's the point. Maybe
Mm,
someone's watching me who's a huge Netflix person, doesn't walk. Then they're like, you know what? Van Doren's out here. She's doing an Ironman. I'm going to start walking around the block.
yeah.
Honestly, that's kudos. Like, that's kudos,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
their Iron Man is doing something they're not used to doing, getting out of their comfort zone to make it a
Exactly.
little
Like
healthier.
that's the inspiration. It's not do what I'm doing. It's find something that you like, find something that's a little hard for you that you're not sure if you're going to cross that finish line. You're not sure if that's going to be hard for you. Then go try.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's great. Now you also, aside from inspiring us all through your athletic prowess, you work with guys about mindset and focus and overcoming things. Can you touch on that a little bit? Maybe some of the things
Yeah,
that you've learned from the people that you've worked with, and just starting this whole thing up. Um, because I
that's
know
right.
that you were starting this as we were talking last time, and um,
Yeah.
I'd just love to hear how that's been going.
We started the day we did that podcast. You
Yeah.
and I, that was the day I launched it. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I
that's
remember that.
amazing. I'm trying to think if that was like a long period of time or being busy in general just makes time go fast, but,
I feel like it
um,
was maybe 6 months ago. Um, it's almost November, so that would put us back in May. Might even been before that.
yeah, right around there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been positive, and I have over 65 members, some free, some paid, and so I have different membership tiers that they belong to, and then the free members kinda get some information from me and that they like to work with me, they work through the membership, but, the guys I've been working with have been they come from all different kinds of backgrounds, new dads working on sobriety, working on health, working on fitness goals, working on new businesses. Um, it's been a variety of backgrounds, and so which I imagined that to be
Yeah.
dating. Dating is always a big one.
Yeah.
Dating, connections, relationships. That never goes away, and people want that, and that's the thing for me. Even when I'm in this training, at the end of the day, I still will always want connection.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes the other way around where you have connection and then you're like, I'm just dying for a run. I think that when you're choosing programming and I'm kind of just learning from trial and error myself, but when
Yeah.
I'm enjoying something I love, I still at the end of the day, there's still a need and a desire for connection,
I
right?
agree. I think that's 100% on point.
Yeah. I don't see people connecting all day, and then at the end of the day, they're just like, "I just gotta get out and run a 5K." No matter if they're a runner or not. Sometimes they're not craving that. It's like we do crave that, relationship connection, and so, it's been fun. I post a lot of, like, different polls that you see on my
Yep.
stories on Instagram. Um, I work with the guys a lot individually. I do some, one-on-one video chats with them, and it's good. It's been growing. It hasn't been going backwards,
That's
so it's been
good.
growing.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
And
it's
it's
steady.
young. It's only, 6 months old, 5 months old, whatever it happens
Yeah,
to be, like, that's infancy. Um,
yeah.
so that's awesome that it's going the way it is.
Thanks. Yeah, I like working with the guys. It is definitely like I just prefer to work with them, and I think that as a single mom, what came out of me from the divorce was leading and leadership, and I had to do all the things, right? And
Yeah.
so I feel because of that experience over the past 3 years, I'm able to really relate to guys because I know what it's like to have to be a leader in the household. Who else is gonna lead? Not my 12-year-old. My 6-year-old will try to lead. Honestly, she'd do a pretty good job, but, it's something that I didn't you don't really know what to expect after divorce, and when you're in it and then you're talking about it, you're like, "I am the leader, and I'm the one making all the decisions every day," you
Yeah.
know? Now, when you're in a relationship with a partner, there's that shared, area that also comes with negotiations and all different kinds of things, right?
Yeah.
But when you're a single mom, I feel like I step more into the masculine role, and that's okay because I know that this is like just a season. But while I'm in it, it's natural that I'm going to be a little bit more masculine just because of my role that I have to take on.
That's understandable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and I imagine the connections you're making there, because I'm sure in this sort of format that you're learning quite a bit about these guys, and they're opening up, and kind of no one's going to come to this sort of situation, or most, I would say, closed off, and not, you don't come unless you want change, or you want to move forward, or fix something, or develop new habits or skills or something like that. And that comes from a level of vulnerability that can be tough. But once you get through that, you make some strong connections, I would imagine.
that's true. And I think there's a component there of something I'm working on now, which is like, men want that high value woman. Well, high value women want a high value man, right?
Yeah.
It's true. We both want the same thing. Now, if a man would like to be that high value man, there has to be that emotional opening, that vulnerability. But through the polls that I've taken, that's hard for guys. And there's a lot of shame that comes from emotional expression. So I'm like, you want her to be high value. She wants you to be high value. But there's this disconnect that the guys have such a hard time talking because of some shame based stuff that they work through, but then they maybe don't share it. How are we supposed to grow and move forward into getting that kind of woman that you're actually talking about, that you're desiring? So that kind of goes on, those kind of conversations go on. And people have to break down. They have to break down ego. They have to break down
Yeah.
maybe through a divorce, break down through a trauma, right? And sometimes that ends up turning things. Not all the time, but a lot of times that happens. And
Yeah.
then they're like, "I'm seeking," and that's the guy that I would like to work with. I like to work with the guys that are seekers. Everybody's right where they're supposed to be. There's always like a non-judgment on where you are and where you show up. Where are you now, and where do you want to be in 3 months? Where do you want to be in 6 months?
I like that there too. The where do you want to be? Where do you, you hear the where do you see yourself in 5 years? That whole spiel. And
Yeah.
I think it gets lost in the fact that you hear it all the time, or it's like telling kids, like, you could be whatever you want when you grow up. And you hear it over and over again, and people don't believe it, but it's true. Like, I did something with the students today. I go on these tangents in class, and they're like, "Oh gosh, Mr. O," but they don't have to do certain work, so I'm
Mr.
sure
L.
they're not hating it. But I had talked about the 100 hours rule. Are you familiar with that?
100 hours rule. No, just the 100th day of the year. I was like, "Where does that
No,
come from?"
no, this isn't necessarily a school thing. They say, and I don't know the research behind it, but if you put 100 hours into any skill or anything, you'll be better than 95% of the population.
True.
So I'm trying to get the students to be more purposeful, and do things with actual intent. So I was like, all right, guys, I want you to think, and no judgment, like, average time you spend on a screen, whether it's watching TV, YouTube, and I went through the whole list, and I'm like, 0 to half hour. One kid raises his hands. Like, the average was probably 3 to 3.5 hours a day. And I'm like, take a half hour of that. Like,
Wow,
spend two
that's
and a
high.
half hours, not 3 hours. Take 2.5 hours on that. Spend 30 minutes learning how to do something. Like, what do you want? Like, and we started talking about what they're passionate about. One of the kids, like, wants to learn how to animate things. So he's like, all right, so Mr. O, can I, like, and we made a plan. It was like, all right, these days, this is what we'll kind of look into. I'm like, talk to your parents, like, figure out like different ways we can do this. But it was like, all right, we're going to make this plan on how to have direction, how to have purpose. And we're putting a chart up in the classroom where everybody can come in and they can mark the time that they put into whatever skill they want for
Yeah,
that day. And our goal is
I
to
love
hit
that.
100 hours by the end of the year.
I love
Um,
that.
yeah. And it might not work, and one of the kids was like, what if I don't get to 100 hours? I'm like, would you get to 85? I'm like, you
Yeah,
don't think there's a lot of value in 85 hours towards
that's right.
something, you know? And
That's such a great perspective.
Yeah, and it was so then I had mentioned a few times on the show recently, I started Wing Chun, which is a form of kung fu. 2.5 weeks ago. I've gone 5
Awesome.
times. One of the guys on the show has a dojo about 45 minutes away, so I've been going in.
Oh,
So that's gonna be mine. I'm gonna be keeping track of my hours on the board with that. So I'm 5 hours in. I got
that's
95
super
more to
cool.
go. Oh, it's
That's
fun.
new. You've never done kung fu before.
No,
See,
I
but I
did
love
a
that.
month of karate in 5th grade, and I didn't learn how to do flips or jump kicks, so I didn't wanna keep doing it. I obviously not in the right frame of mind at that point, but it's humbling because I don't know what I'm doing. And the guys there have years and years of experience. And like, I'm not looking to get into street fights. I'm not even looking really for self defense. If it comes up, great. I
Yeah.
just wanted to learn a new skill that is so far outside my comfort zone that it would challenge me. But also, I wanted the physical aspect. I know there's a lot of stretching and mobility in that piece of it, which I know I need physically with as I'm getting older, injuries and all that stuff creep up. And I'm trying to be proactive, as you said, to try and prevent those as much as possible. But it was just purpose and intent. And like you were saying with the guys you're talking to, trying to have that 3-month, 6-month plan, 5-year plan, whatever it happens to be, you actually have to have a plan in order for that to come through.
Right.
So we spent time trying to figure that out. Sorry, I rambled a bit there, but it was
Oh no, I think it's great. I think for you it's twofold. It's like one, you're doing it for yourself, for stretching and strength, and you're doing something new in your 40s. I think is really cool because when you're in your 50s, you're like, remember when I started kung fu in my 40s? And in your 50s, you'd be like, what else can I start new? It's
yeah,
like my dad, he started running at 58 years old. Who would have known, right? So I think that's really important. But then the second part for you is like that connection of the kids watching you be like, oh, Mr. O tries something new and he's 40 in his 40s, you know? So
what we
how
say.
cool is that? And maybe their parents aren't trying something new. Maybe it's very comfortable,
Yeah.
right? So it's a great role modeling. Teachers make a huge impact on students. Like for them and you to have that conversation and be like, I've been in Kung Fu 5 times. I'm almost to 10, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
they're listening and they're watching you. They're watching you and they're listening. And they're going to want to know because you guys have that relationship. I think it's great. It's like a twofold, you know,
It was
positive
funny. One
opportunity.
of the kids, and he's usually a passive learner, I would call him. He everything you need him to do, he'll do, but you can tell it's not his favorite thing in the world if we're just doing like if we're reading a story or you're talking about character development, and that's not going
Oh,
to reach everybody the same way. He raised his hand. He goes, Mr. O, this is actually kind of hitting home. It's like, oh, that's
oh, it's
awesome to
awesome.
hear. I'm like,
That's awesome.
what are you thinking? He goes, I want to play the ukulele. I was like, where did that? Like, that's awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah,
Sure.
it was so out of left field, but I was like, that's so incredible. So it was, I don't know. And I feel like that sense of vulnerability that you talked about, it's hard to admit you're not great at something. Nobody wants to do that. But once you do and you put it out there and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, like he's not good, but let's see where he can get to. Let's see what he can do. Um, so it's, I don't know, just it seems like it should be fun. I want to see where it
I
goes.
love it. Do you know, and I know you know him, David Goggins?
Yes.
He has a book called Can't Hurt Me. And I
Very,
feel like that book, I read it. I feel like that title reminds me too of why I'm able to be vulnerable and you see my Instagram. I'm pretty open,
yep.
you know, like healthier ego. And for me, when I was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years and then went through my divorce and I had to share 50-50 custody with my kids, you know, nothing can hurt more than that. Like that's hard.
Yeah.
That was really hard. And so from that point, that's kind of like at the foundation of like, I chose to be over here, right? And so now I have all of this learning to do by myself, leadership. My kids, I only get them 50-50 when I had them all the time. I was a stay at home mom for a long time, right? Nothing can really hurt my ego. It just can't. I mean, it's just been a milestone of my life that has its foundation. And then going forward, I just want to be peaceful, right?
Yep.
And setting a great example for my kids, right? Comes back to like it's very simple. Instead of defensiveness, ego, competition, like if we only live once, like this is the way to live. You
a
know,
hundred
this
percent. And
this is this is the open heart.
I love that you said that too. And I had a couple conversations where it talks about ego, and people who are happy and comfortable with themselves are never going to put down somebody else ever for anything. You get a level of respect when you see what somebody's trying to accomplish, what they're trying to do. They could suck at it. It doesn't matter. If they're willing to suck at something and
Yeah.
try something new, all the respect in the world for you. I don't care what it is. Find something you want to learn how to do. And I think that's incredible. So yeah, that's huge. That's the biggest part. And it's so refreshing when you get to the point where you're like, I just don't care what you think. Like, I'm going to try this and I'm
Yeah.
okay. If it's embarrassed, like people don't allow themselves to feel embarrassed enough. I feel like you should put yourself in situations where you might be embarrassed and laugh at it if that happens. Like it shouldn't be this horrible thing. I don't know.
I do too. And the divorce was tough for me on many levels. And then after that, it was almost like a rebirth of who I wanted to be as far as healthy personal development, what kind of mom I want to be, what kind of work am I going to do. There was so many new questions. Where am I going to live? Like it was just so
Yeah.
many newness. And there was a lot of mistakes. I had a lot of mistakes in 3 years. There's going to be a lot of mistakes in the next 3 years. That doesn't stop. So I
Yeah.
think when people look at life and think that there's never going to be a mistake, that's not true. There's probably a mistake coming tonight. There's a
Sure.
mistake coming tomorrow.
I'm sure there's
I
one
think
right here that I'm making that would.
no. We're just learning. I think where what's really important is if we're patterning that same mistake is when we get in trouble.
Yes.
It's we need to if we see a pattern and we're like, well, you know what? This isn't serving me. It's not serving others. Time to stop. It's that self-control and discipline that says that's not going to work anymore. And this can go for me, and I learn a lot through sports with my cramping. If I start cramping in my next training over and over and over again, what is my mind going to say? This probably isn't a good idea anymore, you
No, I'm
know?
not doing this. This isn't right.
Right. However, it hasn't patterned yet. So if it doesn't pattern, then, right, I'm like, well, I have support. I'm putting money into my health. I want to see if I can get through this with the support. Let's see if it patterns this way. So then I kind of make a new decision based off of patterns.
Well, and the thing is, you're either going to put money into your health now or you're going to put into it later. And I'd
So
much rather
true.
put it in now when you can enjoy it as opposed to when you can't move. And that's where the money goes towards.
That
So,
is not a joke. Like that
no,
is facts on facts.
yes.
And I'm not sure I I'm not sure if people fully understand that because the way our society lives, it's like they pretend it's not coming. It's coming.
Oh, yeah.
It's it's gonna hurt one way or the other based off of longevity. If you have a decently healthy life, you are setting yourself up for success with your nutrition, your sleep, your stress, your exercise. Like it's real.
Yeah.
So
And
I don't
listen,
know if people sometimes have a hard time with like starting, staying consistent.
I think it's more consistency in the educational piece about it. When you look as you walk through the middle aisles of the supermarket, there are things labeled like organic and healthy and protein over everything. And then you look at the ingredients, and the first one's high fructose corn syrup in there.
Right.
And it's like it's a lack of understanding, I think, some of it. And then, people like the instant gratification as opposed to seeing the long term picture. And it's tough when you're in your 20s. But once you start getting into your 40s and then your 50s, and you're like, oh, I'm approaching my back nine here. I want to push that off as long as I possibly can.
Right.
Um, you realize the importance. And I think there's a lot more out there. My mom sent me an email like, did you see this? Dr. Peter Attia was on 60 Minutes, I think Sunday night, talking about longevity and the things that are most important. And I even got text from my buddies being like, Derek, did you see this? I'm like, yeah, that's what I've been talking about. Like, this is the important stuff. And they're like, oh, I should probably go back to the gym. I don't have time. I'm like, don't give me that crap. I'm like, watch Katie Van Doren. You got time.
That's right. I
But
love
it's
that.
understanding that piece of it. But it sometimes you need a message a bunch of times and you have to hear it at the right time in order for it to really sink in.
That's very true. Yes, that's very true. And I think a lot of people on Instagram or social media have had stories and history of I was an alcoholic, now I'm not. I was really obese, now I'm, an amazing runner. I don't have that story. My story has always been my lifestyle, which actually is my account name, which is the KVD lifestyle. I've always lived like this. There was never this like I had an addiction. I've been
Right.
really overweight. There was nothing to me. Feeling balanced and energetic and healthy always came from a foundation of nutrition. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be organic, but decent, right? And this exercise high that I would get from running. And that's where everything's been level for me. And that's probably why I love sports so much because it's like my love language. If there's some drama, for example, like in pickleball drama, I'm like, you can't do this with me in my sports. Like, this is my love language.
Yeah. Get that
It's
out.
not going to work. This is my steady, and when that comes up, I just kind of move over, which is probably why I entered triathlon, but that might be a story for another time. But sports to me and like finding that love and interest in what exercise you like to do and be like, I feel good after this and check in with yourself. That's gold.
Oh, it really
Yeah.
is. It really, and that social piece again, like you keep, like we're both talking about, that's there too. Like I don't think people understand how it's all connected. Your nutrition, your sleep, your rest, your activity, the social aspect of stuff. I forget who said it, but there was a woman who was talking about the best thing to do when depression starts to set in is go make somebody else smile. Like
Oh,
get that social
yes.
interaction, do something kind for somebody else, and it starts you like starts it.
I believe that because it comes back down to gratitude. So
Yeah.
when people even have birthdays and they're like, I don't like my birthday and I don't, whatever on my birthday, I'm like, to me, a birthday means like a real deep dive into gratitude. I mean, I'm the sixth child. I can't believe I'm here from the same parents. Like, I've got some serious gratitude, right, for being the sixth
Yes.
child. I feel kind of
Yes.
lucky, right? And so, but it's the same thing of when someone kind of says, like, I don't like dogs. There's a lot of people that don't like dogs. I'm like, I don't know how you don't like dogs. And then they say like they don't like their birthday. And I'm like, really? That's like a great day for gratitude, and
Yeah.
just like, what did I learn over the past year? What am I going to do differently? What am I going to challenge myself with? Have a couple goals. And I don't know, it honestly makes me sad a little because when people don't like their birthdays, I'm like, is your
Yeah.
life, what is your life like? It's almost like a sit down. It's like, is your life very hard? Is there a lot of problems in your life?
That would be
Some
my guess.
stuff.
It's probably it
Yeah,
stems from something. It's a reminder of something that should be happy, and maybe they're not in that space at that time.
right. Yeah.
But I like that you said like it sounds like it's a day of self-reflection for you and what you want coming up for the next year, and I think that's incredibly important. And I know I should journal. I know that's an important thing to do, and I just don't do it, and I don't have a reason. Um, and maybe I'm just afraid what's going to happen when I start opening the floodgates and it all starts coming out. Because I've got my walls up like everybody else does, and I
Yeah.
guess I have them on myself too. But just being willing to have that self-reflection. And I do. I definitely take the time to think through stuff and process, but I do know writing things down is definitely is a very effective approach to that. But I like that you take your birthday to do some soul searching and see where things are and where you want to go and what to do next. Um,
Yeah, it's a little bit like a Happy New Year feeling,
yeah,
that kind of, even though it's not Happy New Year, but a lot of people do that with their goals on
yeah,
on New Year's Day. I don't journal either, but my my take is like my introspection is pretty constant and I would say
yeah,
deep that um And you know for yourself, like if you're taking your own introspection and you're taking action towards things, and that
Yeah.
action lines up with your words, that's your alignment.
Yeah, no, it definitely I've made good I know AI is it's got its negatives, but it definitely I've found a way to use like ChatGPT and I have my different projects and I will when I was painting this summer, I paint during the summers as a teacher. I would you can set it up so you have conversations with it back and forth. And I would talk through ideas I had and make plans. And it would be like, all right, I need this in a bullet point list. I need to know what I need to do. Like, and it would come back and be like, no, I don't like that. Let's change that. Let's do this. And it was just a way to organize my thoughts. So I guess it was a type of journaling. I just did the AI version of it. That's the more technologically
It's cool.
advanced than a piece of paper. But um, yeah, I think being thoughtful and living with intent and purpose, I think is huge. Um,
It
yeah.
is. This is a big one for men in general too, is just to like making sure that there's purpose driven.
Mm,
Sometimes that falls off. The guys I've worked with haven't been in that situation where the purpose is difficult for them unless they haven't shared it. But from where I can tell, they're that's not the issue. But purpose is something that comes up for men.
yeah. Oh my, I can't believe we've been talking for 50 minutes here. Yeah,
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
sorry for stealing your whole afternoon. I thought we were like 15 minutes into it. That absolutely flew by.
We
Um,
always have that.
oh, I'm sorry about that. All right. Anyway, so thank you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate you taking the time. Is how do people get in touch with you? I mean, I know, but why don't we say it again and I'll write it again in the notes and everything. But what's the best way if people want to reach out? If guys want to work with you, what would be the avenue there?
Sure. So Patreon is the app. It's Patreon. And then my site is called The Guys Girl. So you just use the search engine to find it. And then on Instagram, I'm at the KVD lifestyle. And that's it. Those are my two.
Mm, all right. Is there a link through your Instagram to the Patreon?
Yes, in my
Okay.
bio.
All right,
Yes.
so people can find it that way as well. In everybody listening, honestly, Katie is so worth a follow. It is awesome to see all the things that she's doing, and even just to see somebody, pardon my French, but kicking ass every day, even when days are tough and everything like that. I've seen you every day. You're coming for it, and it seems like you are getting the most out of the 24 hours you get every
Thank
day.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I hope that I don't I would love to show that life is hard for me too, and it's not all roses. I am just like a human being and everybody else. So
Yeah.
whether my energy comes off still excited and happy, it's still real life.
Yes. No, it definitely is. Well, thank you so much for hopping back on again. We'll have to get you on again. This is maybe every 6 months or so we'll squeeze you on here and see what else is going on in Katie Van Doren's lifestyle.
Aw, you're the best, Derek. Thank you so much.
And thank you for everybody who's listening. Like, follow, subscribe. Definitely give Katie a follow. She's well worth it. So thank you all, and we will be in touch.